Hello. It's a different experience. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Arisha and Ashwin. Arisha, am I audible? Hello. What? Hello. Hello. మీ వాయిస్ అయితే వస్తుంది యూట్యూబ్లో ఇప్పుడు లైవ్ అవునా వస్తుందా ఓకే Hello, good evening, everyone. Now we are going to discuss about the social psychology. Yeah. Now we'll discuss about the methods of social psychology. Field study and experimental method. In methods of psychology, what is the importance of methods means, see the way we can do the strategies, the way we can process our techniques in utilizing the data. Suppose we collect some data. After collecting the data, what we can do? We need to identify the things by using different techniques. So these are the methods we use after to collect the data and to emphasize the data. These are the research methods. Observation method, survey method, correlation method, field study, and experimental method. These methods work well when the thoughts, feelings, or behaviors being investigated as a conscious and are directly or indirectly observable. Whenever we are explaining about these methods, first we look into the observation method. Observation method is a research method. It's commonly used by psychologists. Here, what psychologists will do, they observe the person. Suppose if you want to test the person's stress levels. So what we'll do, we'll call the person, we'll do some questioning, we'll ask the person to address the questions. By seeing the answers, we'll address the things, what best he is doing, how he is interacting with the things and all. So suppose if the person is into stressful condition, we see the person by his stress. By seeing his answers, by seeing his behavior and natural observation also, we can address these are the things because of the reasons he is behaving like this. In observation methods, we'll call them major things we use: controlled observation, natural observation, and participant observation. Suppose if the person is in front of you, we'll see how the person is behaving with you. If he is in stressful condition, okay, suppose if you ask some questions, what's your name, how old are you, he don't address properly. Immediately he will say no. Like he may answer very lately, he may not respond towards the questions. So here this is called natural observation. Suppose one guy is playing in a ground, okay, you want to observe the person. In natural observation, here you will see the person, the way he is behaved with others, the way he is showing any kind of aggressive nature with others. See here, the person's spontaneous behavior we are studying in natural observation. These are the three things we are doing in observation method. Suppose if the person have a lot of aggressiveness in his behavior, what will do? Most of the time he may collect others, he he may throw the next person, he may react differently. So it's all comes under this natural observation. So controlled observation in the sense where the conditions are conceived by the researcher. Here what we do, we'll take two samples. Others will ask the person get into a lab. Okay, we'll give some situation to the person. We'll ask the person react towards that. Or else if the person is very aggressive, we will call the person into the lab. We'll ask the person to do meditation. After his meditation, we'll ask the person react differently. So here what we are doing, we are manipulating. By doing what? By doing meditation, we are manipulating his anger. After that, we are creating a situation where he can get anger. But what happened? Here his anger is controlled. By doing what? Meditation. So what we are doing here, we are doing a control observation. So we are manipulating his anger. After that, we are asking the person to react towards the anger. But before that, we already done the things. So here we can't express any kind of anger towards his behavior. And even in the psychology laboratory also, whenever we are with the persons, okay, we act differently with the person. Suppose we started observing his sleep cycle. Okay, we given some muscle relaxation training in a psychology lab. We tend to sleep. So after that, we ask the person, "How are you? How is things going on?" So here we control his sleep pattern, and we even if the person has suffering with insomnia thing also, but whenever we started doing the relaxation technique, he'll be quiet. So here he can't express any kind of anger or even the sleep issue also. That means whenever we started asking him to be cool and do the things in a normal way, he's completely into deep sleep here. Here we are doing the controlled observation. Now we discuss about the participation observation. See, in controlled observation, yeah, in controlled observation, we always see the researchers by using the same observation schedule. Suppose if you want to see the person behavior in the classroom, we go and see the person in the same time every day. Okay, what he's doing, how he's reacting in the classroom, how he's answering to the persons. See here, we are taking the notes in the controlled status. So here the data is completely obtained from the structure observation. Actually, this one is a very easier and quicker, and it's most of the time it's a quantitative study. It makes very less time. This is the strength of this. And in the what is the limitation means we can get the things in a controlled thing. Once here we are controlling the things, we are taking the notes. We are observing the person. Here controlled observations can lack validity to the outcome affected demand characteristics. When participants know they are being watched, them may act differently. Suppose you are in the classroom. Okay, here what's your job? Whether you like it or not, you need to listen and you need to according to the classroom atmosphere. But most of the time what you do here, whether you like it or not, if you are interested towards the class, you feel like, yeah, I'm interested, I'm doing this because of I have a lot of passion towards the psychology class, that's the reason I'm attending. Whether you like it or not, you completely focus into that. Why means your situation demands towards that. But whenever the natural observation, then a natural observation, what the research method commonly used by psychologists or social scientists. So what they do in natural observation or controlled observation, research tool in which subject is observed in a natural surroundings without any manipulation by the observer. See, we will go back to the first example. Whenever we started observing a person while he is playing in a playground, here the person doesn't know what exactly we are doing. Here we are observing his behavior. Okay, actually even this technique is used for study spontaneous behavior of a participant, and the research simply records. Okay, whatever they want to see, whatever way they can. Suppose here we can see the person's skills, the way he's playing, the way he's behaving with others, the way he's responding towards the game, the way he's showing interest towards the game. These are the things we can observe in the natural observation. Here, there may be too much to record, and the behaviors recorded may not be necessarily be the most important. So the approach is usually used as a pilot study. See here, what type of behaviors will be recorded. Suppose if you are observing the person in a playground, he is more aggressive. Definitely we will call him as he's an aggressive person. How the way he's behaving, not only that, the way he's tend to make things. So these are the things we consider. Again, we will compare this observation in a controlled observation. Suppose these two things are different. Most of the time, yeah, we'll do with natural observation. Okay. Suppose wild animals in nature. People, even most of the social psychologists, they observe the animals there, how they are doing, how the animals are behaving in the zoo by seeing the crowd, how they are behaving. When they are the lion, how they are doing, how they are eating, how they are behaving with the other animals. So these are the things we can observe in the natural observation. Even with the people also in classroom atmosphere, how the students are behaving most of the time. Even in work fronts, how the person is behaving in the organization, what kind of behavior he is imposed. Okay, what are the reasons towards his behavior? These are the reasons we will observe the person. Next, we'll go back to any questions here, Arisha? Okay, fine. What are the strengths of this natural observation? By being able to observe the flow of behavior in its own settings, studies have great validity too. Like case studies, natural observation is often used to generate new ideas because it gives the researcher the opportunity to study the total situation. It often suggests the avenues of inquiry not thought of before. Suppose now you started observing the person in the ground by doing the naturalistic observation. Here you can address the person behavior the way he is behaving. Suppose if he is doing like if he's hitting everyone. Here you observe his aggressive level. Okay, or else if we started pampering, he's more empath. Okay, he's showing lot of concern towards everyone. Here we can observe the person how he is doing, why he is doing. So with this we can understand. Even suppose if he started using different languages, okay, with the other people in playground. So here we are addressing. He knows different languages. That means he can communicate with anybody. Suppose if he is even guiding the person, other people also. That means he do have a qualities of a naturally like a master. So here we are addressing his different strengths. So here, suppose he is having only the negative characteristics of aggressive behavior, we can understand his aggressive level. And suppose if he started hitting and throwing stones another, or else he is maintaining a big gang, here we can see his feelings towards that. So here we can see the prospect of the person. We can understand much more about the person. We can start even exposing towards his mass behavior, the negative era of the person. If the person is really intelligent, we can see the intellectuality, intelligence level, the way he's behaving. Even if we want to see his emotional intelligence level, yeah, we can get into that stuff. So here, this is the strength of the natural observation. Whenever we are understanding the person, we can see we are getting the opportunity to study more on the person in an unconditional manner, so that you can change your hypothesis, you can get into that area, and you can even research on that topic. Next, we'll come back to the limitations part. See, whenever we are doing any research, we do have our limitations, we do have our strengths. Here, the limitation part is these observations are often conducted on a micro small scale. This may result in the findings lacking the ability to generalize to wider society. Suppose if you are observing the person only in the ground, but if you don't know how he behaves in the classroom, or else how he behaves in the family front. By means here we do have limitations. We cannot get into every aspect of his life. We cannot see the things in a manner. So this is our limitations. We are lacking the ability to generalize in a wider society. And not only that, whenever you started a natural observation, you cannot go with a quantity as big here. I means we need a lot of time, and sometimes other person may object why you are getting into my thing. So these things will happen. Next, whenever natural observations are less reliable or as the other variable cannot be controlled. Suppose this makes it difficult for another researcher to repeat the study in exactly the same way. Suppose you started studying the person, his behavior in a ground. Okay, but if we cannot control anybody here, if the other gang is completely, they're asking me the first, they're provoking. Okay, his aggressive levels are more and more. We cannot control the situation. So in observation method, here the other variable, the other participants we cannot control. So he may expose to the more and more towards the negative thing only. Here we do have the limitations. Next, in the further disadvantage is that researcher needs to be trying to be able to recognize aspects of a situation that are psychologically significant and worth future attention. See here, if the person is started observing in a natural way to the other person, here we cannot control two things. One is the other group, the next disadvantage, we cannot recognize aspects of a situation. Okay, that means what attention. See here, if the person is completely showing interest on the game, okay, we don't know like the other person how he is doing. Again, is going to be a weakness. Okay, here we don't have any control on the other person, and what kind of aspects we don't have. Not only that, if suppose if the researcher don't know how the game works, if he doesn't know the rules of the game or rules of the game, so he cannot put more attention. So the way the boy is playing like game, the observer, we don't know. So here we need to see, we need to give the training to the person towards that also. Next, with observations, we don't have manipulation of variable or control over extraneous variable, which means cause and effect relationships cannot be established. Here we are observing the person personality. Suppose he is into anger, like aggressive mode. Okay, what is the relationship with this person? What is the cause for this effect? Okay, that person, the other person in the team, he yelled at him. But here we cannot address this issue. So what we cannot control the thing. What is the thing we are having? We cannot control the situation. But here we can see only the aggressive level of the person. But what made him to be aggressive, we don't know. So here we do have limitations. And next we'll go back and discuss about the participant observation. What is this participant observation? Suppose if you want to start a study on qualitative research and ethnography. The participant observation method is one type. Data collection method might be practitioner scholars typically used in quantitative research and ethnography. Most of the researchers, they use only the participation. Here, suppose if you want to see the depression level of it, give one group. So here, we need to have a control over the persons. They need to agree to check their depression. First thing, the participants need to give an agreement. They have to agree. And not only that, this type of methodology is employed in many disciplines, particularly anthropology, sociology, communication studies, human geography, and social psychology. When a sociologist actually becomes a part of the group, they are studying in order to collect data and understand the social phenomenon or problem. Suppose a psychologist is doing the same study. Okay, the person started, what do you call it? He started observing the depression level of the one organization. Here, that organization needs to agree, not only that each and every participant need to agree to give their data. So after that, what we'll do, this is a qualitative research. Here, we'll give the questionnaire to the people. The participants need to agree and they need to answer each and every question. That means here, participants, they need to give their time towards the questionnaire. Here, participants' observation is a variant of the above in a natural observation, but here the researcher joins in and becomes part of the group. They are studying to get a deeper insight into the labs. What they do whenever we started asking the questions, we will ask more and more questions. We will know that lot of interest towards the person. Not only that, we will address the person's depression level, and he needs to answer all the questions of the person. So these things will come into the consideration. Next, if it were research on animals, we would now not only be studying them in the natural habitat, but be living alongside them as well. Here, whenever we are doing the study in the participant observation, yeah, definitely we'll give some medicine or else we'll create some certain situation. Based on that, we will treat the person. We'll start the study. And this approach was used by Lennon Festinger in a famous study into a religious cult who believed that the end of the world was about to occur. He joined the cult and studied how they reacted when the prophecy did not come true. Here, what this person did, whenever the world is going to end, how the people will behave, what kind of situation they will face, how they spend their life, it's completely depend on the study. So this person, he study on that. Whenever people are heard about this world is going to be end. So most of the time, what they do, they may sell their properties, they may spend the lavish time, or else people may cry, they may do whatever they want. So these things will come. Here, what is the participant's observation can be either cover or covert. Covert is where the study is carried out undercover. The researcher's real identity and purpose and kept concealed from the group being studied. See, suppose if you tell them I'm doing on so and so thing, so here what will happen? They will give you unconditional destined help to you. Or else they may say that no, this is not that, up to here only I will give the benchmark. They may give some benchmarks. So these are the things may happen. Here participant observation is a variant of the above natural observation, but here the researcher joins in and becomes part of the group. They are studying to get a deeper insight into their life. This is the advantage of the participation observation. If it were research on animals, we would not know, only be studying them in the natural habits. Okay, this is what you already know. Yeah, here. The researcher takes a false identity and role, usually posing as a genuine member of the group. Sometimes even it happens. On the other hand, over is where the researcher reveals his or her true identity and purpose to the group and asks permission to observe. What are the limitations? Here, privacy. Whenever we are recording, suppose same example will go back. Okay, whenever you started recording about the other person, here the persons may agree, they may not, they may disagree also. Okay, why do you want all the information? The way we want, world is going to die. Yeah, we will behave the way we want. Few people, they may reluctantly say no to you. I don't want to reveal my things. So we never know how they will behave. So it completely depends on the person. Sometimes they may fake. Suppose even if you are conducting the depression questionnaire, if they don't want to show you their depression level, they may answer inappropriate manner, means against to their feelings. So we don't have any kind of control over here. Even the researcher takes a false identity and role also. On the other hand, overt is where the researcher reveals his or her true identity and purpose to the group and asks permission to observe. See here, whenever people have started observing the other persons, few people they completely against towards that. Why this person is getting into my life? Why do we need this kind of information? Why should I reveal my true colors to that thing? So at that moment, no, we cannot go ahead with this. Here, what are the limitations in this study? In this method of research, we'll see now. It can be difficult to get time, privacy for recording. For example, with the covert observation, researchers can't take notes openly as it would be below the cover. It happens most of the times. They don't even entertain you. Suppose simply if you entertain also, whenever you are going for the publications and all, they don't say that. Okay, this means they have to wait until they are alone and rely on their memory. This is a problem as they may forget details and are unlikely to remember direct quotations. Yeah, if the researcher becomes too involved, they may lose objectivity and become biased. There is always the danger that we will see what we expect or want to see. This is a problem as they could selectively report information instead of noting everything they observe, thus reducing the validity of the data. Here, most of the time, what people will do, they don't reveal the things. If they reveal also, they don't accept. And suppose if you want to know more about that also, we'll see what we expect or want to see. That only they will show you. So they don't want to be the true colors of the light. These are the limitations. Now survey method. Most of the survey methods, whenever the product they are launching, okay, before launching the product, they will get into the survey. Okay, they do the survey. What kind of now at this pandemic situation, people have a lot of interest on others' life. Okay, what kind of how you are reacting by seeing the death rate, or else how you are reacting by seeing the, or else we can do this kind of survey like how many people they got vaccinated with Covishield or Covaxin or Pfizer. These are the questions we can ask, and we can then study why you chosen that vaccination. See, here the survey is a research method used for collecting the data. See here, this survey we can done even in front of a mall, even in a metro station, or in a shop, anywhere. Wherever you want to collect the data from the desired information from the desired group based on your topic of interest. We can start doing the survey method. And here, whenever we are doing the study in survey method, we have multiple purposes. And researchers can conduct it in many ways depending on the methodology chosen in the studies and goal. In the year 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, research is of extreme importance, and hence it's essential for us to understand the benefits of social research for a target population using the right survey tool. Here, the data is usually obtained through the use of standardized procedures to ensure that each respondent can answer the questions without biased opinions that could influence the outcome of the research study. Whenever we are doing the survey method, here most of the time people will give you the answers, depends on their notes, even on the topic. Suppose if you started asking a person, the COVID, he experienced many deaths in the family, he was the corona. Suppose if you started asking questions towards the person, he might be not showing any interest because of his pain. So here what will happen? Don't answer properly. So how the survey works? Here the process involves asking people for information to the questionnaire. You don't answer all the questions, or else you ignore, okay, or else you skip. which can be either online or offline. So we can do this survey online or offline also. But here, many people they will skip, they don't answer the inappropriate questions. They may feel that why should I answer? As they may think that this is not my cup of tea, I don't want to answer because it may hurt me. So these things will be there. Here, what are the types of survey methods? In survey methods, actually whenever we are doing the survey, we can see, we can send a questionnaire through emails, QR codes, or yeah, nowadays people are doing it by using the Google Forms. Okay, we can distribute in a digital media, then on social networks. Okay, we can ask the oral questions also. But what are the survey methods we can use? One is the mail survey. The other one is we can call the people through telephone. We can get the answers. We can get the respondents and the personal interview. It's a face-to-face method. We can sit and ask the person. In-depth interview we can call it as. That is also one method we can do it. Other than the above three methods, we do have questionnaires, interviews, and documentation review. We'll discuss about the three methods in this method. See, in questionnaires, we have this conducted in order to gather large size of information in short period of time. What is the advantage? Members of the sample group can remain and considerably cheaper. Okay, we no need to go each and every person because save our travel expenses, even the time also. Here, this is completely primary data collection method. What is the disadvantage? In this method, people may not answer properly. They may go with the only the first choice questions. They don't even read the total answers, then other options. In interview method, what is the advantage? Here in interview method, advantages is conducted in order to reflect emotions and experiences and explore issues with a greater focus. Here what they do, whenever you started asking the questions on one-to-one basis, okay, here they may give a lot of answers to that. And not only that, they may give you a lot of space to you. They can answer you in an appropriate manner. The way of possibility in the collection of matter is very high. But we do have disadvantages. Here, greater amount of time required. Not only that, in one-to-one interview, this is a completely primary data collection. Additional costs might be very high, incurred associated with arranging and conducting interviews, traveling and all. Not only that, here, whenever you are doing the one-to-one, your cost of time and consuming time is very high. Potential for interview bias puts across the person in such a way that the interview responds according to his suggestively. Okay, sometimes if you don't want to answer properly, else he may go along with the positive manner. He don't want to reveal his true colors. Or else if the interview is going well, he might be very biased. These things can happen. These are the disadvantages of an interview method. Next, we'll come back to the documentation review. Okay, in documentation review conducted in order to study issues that have developed over a specific period of time. Okay, so once a time what's happened? Here, possibility is completely to retrieve the information in a comprehensive. What are the challenges here? These are the challenges associated with excessive documentation, inflexibility of the research process. Here we don't have any control over the things. Here we need to go ahead with the person. The way completely based on the previous information. See here, whenever we are doing the documentation review, we need to follow the maxims, we need to follow the publishers, or else we need to follow the records earlier the way they generated. Here, whatever the documentation is completely based on the past thing. Now, what are the advantages of survey method? Survey can be conducted faster and cheaper. and compared to other methods of primary data collection such as observation and experiments. Primary data gathered through surveys are relatively easy to analyze. What are the disadvantages? In some cases, unwillingness or inability of respondents to provided information. Suppose when we started a survey in front of a mall, they are asking about the products. Okay, typically they don't want to check the second information, second choice, and all. They may answer pick one, and all, then go ahead because they are in hurry. So respondents, inability of respondent. Sometimes language might be a reason. They don't want to say, I don't know English, I don't know the language, the way we wrote, but still they don't respond like that. They may respond in very positive manner. Human bias of response, that is respondents providing inaccurate information. See, suppose if I am giving a negative answer, what others will behave, what others will think about me. These are the disadvantages of survey method. Here, difference in understanding, it's very difficult to formulate a question in such a way that it will mean exactly same to the each respondent. See, understanding level of the person to person is different. Based on that also it happens. Now we go back and discuss about the correlation method. Here, whenever in this code itself it's showing itself correlation means relationship between two variables. Definition means correlation is a statistical technique used to quantify the strength of a relationship between the two variables. See, sometimes, suppose if you are comparing two things, what's the correlation between these two? See, sometimes, whenever we are doing a correlation, it might be strong or weak, it may be positive or negative. Sometimes there is no correlation also. These three things will happen in the correlation method. It is a technique used to measure the likelihood of two behaviors relating to each other. Psychologists often be interested in deciding whether two behaviors can occur together. One means of making the assessment involves using correlations. Actually, most of the psychologists they get into this correlation method, how it's dogs and all. Okay, we already discussed about this. So this is about the correlation method. Next, in correlation, how do you tell if a study is experimental or correlation? Actually, this is the positive correlation. Okay, line of dust rates. Okay, correlation leads us to the observation of two variables to see if there is a relation between them being positive or negative. And researcher presents the results using a numerical value. In a correlation study, the data can be plotted as points on scatter graph. This is called a line of dust fit in this drawn to the points to show the trend of the data. Here, both variables increase together like this. This is called positive correlation. You see the in the graph. If one variable increases, the other variable decreases. Here, this is called negative correlation. Okay, here, if no line of dust fits, see here, we cannot draw any line. Means here there is no common thing. This is called no correlation. Okay. Yeah, now we see the dust plus one. Correlation can be quantified both using the, actually here we will call from -1 to +1, we'll call it as a correlational coefficient. +1 means perfect positive correlation. How can we can say it's like a straight line, all points on a straight line. X increases, Y increases. That is called positive correlation. We show it as a +1. No correlation is 0. So different degrees of correlation. Suppose if you are showing the negative relation, okay, x-axis increases, y decreases, then we'll call it as a negative correlation. If the value closes -1, indicates a strong negative relationship. Here in a real life human situations or psychology experiments, we will not find perfect correlation between variables. Life is all just like that. It's a just image. whenever we are doing the correlation relationship study, we need to we need to consider this one. Most of the psychologists they calculate a correlational coefficient, then using the statistical table. Okay, most of the cases, 90% chance of the result really showing a strong correlation. Most of the time, they may accept the things. Advantage of correlation. Calculating the strength of a relationship between variables. Useful a pointer for the more detailed research. Disadvantage of correlation method. Cannot assume cause and effects. Strong correlation between variables may be misleading. Lack of correlation may not be mean there is no relationship. It could be non-linear. These are the disadvantages. Suppose if there is no correlation, means if it is a relationship is very strong, sometimes we cannot assume means no. After the completion of research, it's waste of time. Next, we are going to discuss about the field study. It is defined as a general method for collecting data about users, user needs, and product requirements. Suppose if you want to launch it, now we see the pandemic situation. We want to launch a new vaccine. So we need to collect the data, how they are doing, how the observe. We need to do the interviewing method. Here data are collected about the task flows. See here our complete data is completely based on this. And the purpose of field study is at always students to hone his or her analytical skills that gain inside the dynamics of the organization in the larger context. This is one example. What kind of job they require, what kind of skills they require. So you can do this study. This study completely based on the students. We can see one more example. Examples of the field studies. Flexible users test in the field, which combine usability testing with adaptive interviews. Customer visits can help you better understand usability issues that arises in particular industry or business context. See, these things also we can see in a field study. Suppose if you want to do a study on students, we can ask others what is the best in the thing, how best you can do, what kind of research we need to do, what kind of courses you have to do for further education, what are the inputs you need to take. These things will come into the picture. So based on that, we'll do the field study. How do you conduct a field study? Always approach your field study with a detailed protocol about what you will observe. Suppose if you want to conduct on students. So here you need to make a protocol based on this. You should conduct your observation and method by which you will collect the record your data. What kind of observation are you doing? Where you are studying? Are you recording through a video or audio? Or else are you recording in a sheet? These things we consider. The field report is a documentation of observation and analysis of a particular phenomena, behaviors, process, and more. It is based on theories and researchers' analysis, which are used to identify solutions for a specific project or case study. Suppose if you are doing a case study on one issue, okay, how people are reacting towards the online classes or else hybrid mode. So here we will address only the students. Here we want to address only the graduates. So we will get in touch with all the students who are attending online classes. So we will record their information. We will make a report. We will analyze the data. So it comes under field study. The way they are giving the data to us. What is the advantage of field study? It gives very detailed data. Not only that, it's completely problem based. Suppose if you are conducting the data completely on the online and the way you are collecting the data only from the students. So here, that is the advantage, and it emphasizes the whole and relevance of the social context. It can cover social facts that may not be immediately obvious or which research participants may be unaware. And disadvantages. It may lack breadth. Gathering very detailed information means being unable to gather data from very large number of people or groups. Suppose if I want to know all the students, all the colleges to know about that. See, for this, to do this research, I need a big group for me in my hand. So these are the disadvantages. Sometimes what will happen? It may be emotionally taxing. Okay. And documenting observations may not be, maybe more challenging than with other methods. Whenever you are collecting the data, yeah, it happens most of the time. These are the disadvantages. No, these are the study of this thing. Okay, any doubts here? I think we have only one student. Stop sharing.